Yo, what is good? It is your boy. What's up? Back with another episode of Yahmsayin. It's your boy Michael Turner. Let's get this lighting fixed a little bit for all of your viewing pleasures. Yeah, we're back. We're in this bitch. It's week 6 of the NFL season, and I'm happy again. We're good. We just hit Phoenix for the last week of the Road Warrior trip. It was the 4th show that we've done. It's crazy. It's only week 6, and we've already done 4 shows out of the 5 weeks because I snuck in a home game. And you know what is nice? Is having a couple weeks off. They've got a home game against Seattle, and then the Bengals have a bye week. So I'm going to be able to chill for a little bit. It's nice. I did stack up some more shows, so that's exciting. These should be on the website by the time you guys see this, but later this month, it's nice, but things are kind of picking up. Your boy's getting hollered at, so I'll be doing Raleigh, North Carolina, or actually I'm lying. It's outside of Raleigh, North Carolina, but it's like 20 minutes outside of Raleigh, North Carolina in Wilson, and I'll be doing that on October 25th. Of this month. I know I've been to that area before a couple times, so if any of you guys are following me from that area, definitely come through. If you know anybody in that area, come through. I've done the, they call it the Tri-Cities area before, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. I'm very familiar with that based on my intimate knowledge of the Little Brother discography. Shout out to Fonte, shout out to rapper Big Pooh. But that'll be cool. And then the most exciting thing that just got added to the calendar, based on a couple of things that happened, but it's exciting that it all lined up. But I'll be doing 4 shows in Honolulu, Hawaii. What? What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? That's pretty exciting. I've never been to Hawaii. So it's double cool because I have So I'll be aging next month at the end of November. So the shows are on the 24th of November and the 25th of November in Honolulu, Waikiki area. I actually don't know anything about it, what island it's on or anything like that. I'll be doing I think Oahu is the island based on my limited research that I've done. But I am in a very happy and healthy relationship, and the person that I love saw that my birthday was coming up, and they decided to pencil in some days for us, and they booked us a trip to Hawaii to celebrate my upcoming birthday, which is fucking dope, and I'm excited about that. But the nice thing with where I'm at is sometimes I can just hit people up and be like, yo, what's good with that show in Hawaii? And I have a friend that owns a comedy club in Honolulu. And so we didn't really plan it around that, but I was like, oh, shit, I could probably do this. And so that weekend after Thanksgiving, I'll be in Honolulu doing 4 shows. So the 24th of November and the 25th of November. 2 shows each night. Pumped about that. If you're out there watching and you know somebody that has some comedy club in your area, fucking holler at them. Tell them to book your boy. Let's keep this fucking train rolling, baby. So those shows aren't really within the Road Warrior perspective, but you know what I got is open weeks when the Bengals have buys or they're playing home games or whatever like that. So trying to fill the calendar up as much as possible. So feeling the momentum, continuing to push. It's been a nice start of it. I was in Phoenix, got to go back. That was cool. It is I've obviously communicated how much Cincinnati means to me and like going back to Cincinnati and shit like that. That's obviously where I was born. It's where my life started. It's where my core friend group is from the earliest days of my life. But like Phoenix was really, really dope to go back to because it's where I started comedy. It's where you could argue I experienced more life. That's probably not even that much of an argument. I experienced more life in Phoenix than I did in Cincinnati. 'Cause that was the lowest I've ever been was in Phoenix, Arizona. Whether it be emotionally or mentally or financially for sure. But honestly, I was pretty broke as a kid. I didn't even have a bank account till I was about 17. I wasn't very liquid as an 8-year-old, but you don't really measure those things. Um, no, but yeah, like the most the adult shit is much more life experiencing than the Cincinnati shit. Cincy's where all my like initial obsession started, though. Obviously, you always say that's where home is, but like Phoenix is just as much a home for sure. I lived there almost as many years as I lived in Cincinnati. 15 years in Phoenix, and then 18 or like 19 years in Cincinnati. So that's kind of wild to think about. So going back there, and then also like going back and doing comedy, and that's where I started my comedy career. Um, that is where my core fan base is. That aren't people that were forced to support me because they grew up down the street from me, or they went to high school with me or something like that. These people went to, it was cool. The audience was a lot of people that had probably seen my show before, which is cool. Those are always good fans. But then like it was probably 50% people that had lived in Phoenix but had never seen my show before, which is kind of fucked up if we're being real. I've been doing it for 11 years, and these people are like, yo, I never came to see you ever when you lived in Phoenix. It's like, dude, I was begging people to come out to see me in Phoenix. Actually, that's the reason I left Phoenix, is because not enough people supported me in Phoenix. That's not, I don't want to start pointing fingers. I could have done more to incite you to get out. I get that. But it's funny, there was a good amount of people that were like, that had never seen me when I lived in Phoenix, and now they're coming to the show when I don't live in Phoenix. But you know what? Whenever you want to start supporting, just jump on that train. The show turned out great, which is always good. I was funny the whole time, which is nice. That's huge. But, yeah, I mean, that's, Phoenix was where I did my first open mic in Scottsdale, Arizona at Stand Up Scottsdale. Phoenix was the first place that I like figured out that you can't wait for people to do shit. You just got to do shit. I remember I'd never been more frustrated in my life than I was in Phoenix trying to get people to fuck with me more and shit like that. And I remember thinking like, damn, I'm a headliner. I just need somebody to book me to headline. But I don't know what it was, what flipped on me, but eventually I was like, yo, if you're a headliner, just start headlining. And that was the first time I took control, and I set up a show for me to headline. And then all of a sudden you're a headliner. But I couldn't wait for somebody else to set up a show and then to ask me to headline. That was the biggest mentality shift I had in comedy. And it's funny because sometimes I still have to remind myself of that, because I'm in these actions that that you wouldn't think I learned anything from it. You still sometimes got to remind yourself, oh, this is what worked in the past. I need to do that again. A la the Road Warrior Tour, right? Like I couldn't sit around and wait for somebody to set up a tour for me. You just set a tour up. You go do the thing, and now you're a touring comedian. And perception is reality. It's like, oh, look, this dude is a touring comedian. And it's like, I've been as talented as this for a long time, but I was waiting for people to like hit me up to book me or something like that at these clubs and shit like that. And it's like the exact opposite is the case. You can't wait for anybody to do that. You actually just have to do it yourself. It is wildly infuriating, because all you want in this career sometimes is somebody to pat you on the back and lift you up a little bit. But that is not the case. And Phoenix was the place that I learned a lot of those lessons. But you always got to continue to learn and grow and shit like that. And that's something that sometimes I got to step back and remind myself that you can't wait on anybody to give you anything. You just got to go do that shit. And that was the first place that I ever learned that. I was so mad that I wasn't getting in these clubs. I wasn't getting booked, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't getting any respect. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just do it myself. Because I had people and I put a headlining show on at the Tempe Improv. And at that time, the Tempe Improv wasn't really messing with me. They weren't like booking me a bunch. They weren't putting me on the weekend shows and shit like that. They are now like I consider my home club. They fuck with me heavy. They love me. We've got a good relationship, so that's all things that are in the past. But it's like it can be so frustrating when you're waiting for the validation for the person, but the person needs to see it for themselves from you too. And I don't know, or maybe I also know that those people have also given other people opportunities without them having to prove it like me. But my journey has always been that I have never gotten. I have not gotten the leg up ever. I have never gotten people to pat me on the back a bunch. I've always had to prove over and over again to people that I'm that dude. And if that's what the journey is, then let's fucking go. You know what I mean? And, I put that headlining show on at the Tempe Improv, and it was the first time I'd ever done that. And I'll never forget. It was like straight up, like it felt like 400 people, but honestly, I don't remember the hard numbers, but it was like over 200 people showed up to watch me headline. It wasn't, looking back on it, it's funny to think of the comedian that I was at that point. But I did do 50 minutes. I did do the time that I needed to do, and it was very entertaining, and I know people walked away. They had a good time. It's also funny knowing what I did this past weekend and getting on stage in front of these Phoenix people again. Some of them were at that show for sure. My brother was there. Obviously, my brother always comes to support as much as he can. The close friends that I have still from then till now, they were probably there. So there's a good amount of people that had seen both. And some feedback that you get is like, it's good to be told like, yo, you're markedly better than you were then, and it's dope to see you continue to get better, which is a funny thing to hear because they're also saying like, yo dog, that one time we saw you was kind of weaker than this shit, and think about that when you go to sleep. Like, shit used to be weak, but I always have it'd be way worse if they told me that I was the same, right? You got to like step back and understand that is the best thing that you can hear is, oh, I'm getting better. That's great. On stage, I've never felt more myself. If you see videos of me and shit like that, I hope that's the biggest thing you take away is like when you see me on stage, it's like, yo, this dude is Michael Turner. In the past, I think I used to like force jokes. I used to like be a joke teller, which is a crazy thing to say that I'm not anymore, but like, because what I do, my job is literally to tell jokes, to be funny. But like, I don't know if that makes sense, but when you see stand-ups, like I saw a dude this weekend in Phoenix that was, first of all, super funny. But what he did was in his 10-minute set, he told like 7, 8, 9 jokes. And it was set up, punch, it was a premise, it was tag, tag, tag. And the pacing of it's something that I observe sometime where I'm like, and I say this with no disrespect to this person, and I'm not even going to name names because it's fucked up, but because it sounds like I'm saying something negative, but I'm actually just saying something that I don't like to be myself, that the way that I don't like to do comedy. And it also, this person crushed. It works. But what I want to do on stage is I just want to have a conversation and be funny throughout it, but have control of the audience the entire time and not be dependent on the pacing of the joke or the cadence in which I tell the joke. Or like if you're somebody that goes to a lot of stand-up comedy shows, the next time you go, observe the comedians and try to, like, you can tell when they're telling a joke, if that makes sense. You can hear their pacing or just the energy that is being presented. Like, oh, this person is telling a joke. I don't want you to even know when I'm telling a joke and when I'm not telling a joke. I'm just talking. But the trick of that is I know within me talking, it's going to be funny. And there are jokes in there that I know how to do and what to say and when to kind of, uh, pop them in or whatever like that. But in the way that I'm doing it, it almost creeps up on you. I'm sneaking jokes in because you don't even think I'm telling the joke. I'm up there just talking, and when the shit pops off, it hits a little different, and that's what I love. That I feel like I'm in a good zone with that now. Um, and the feedback in Phoenix was dope to hear people really being impressed with kind of where I'm at and shit like that because they no market knows me better than Phoenix. And so it's nice to go back there and do that and be recognized in a positive way. So it was super fun. I got to do a show Friday and Saturday night. But Saturday night was the big one. That was my thing at Walter Studios and in I guess it's downtown Phoenix, kind of more towards Midtown. And you know how that is in towns when people. If I told somebody it's like downtown Phoenix, and people are like it's more Midtown. It's after here. Is it north of Washington? Okay, let's reevaluate then. What are we talking about? It's like shut the fuck up. 7th and Roosevelt though is getting up there. It might be toward Midtown. I could be one of those people. They could be like, you know what? I think that is. But it was dope to do that. It was a cool little spot, and there were some technical difficulties that made me very angry in the moment. But overall, good experience. It was a place where you can get drinks, and I have alcoholic friends that come to a lot of these shows, so that was good. I got to have my homie pop on from L.A. actually. That is a fellow Cincinnatian, Luke Null. Shout out to Luke, former SNL alum. He was on there for about a year. I think he only got on screen maybe 1.5 times. It doesn't work for everybody. No, but super funny guy. He's a comedian that does a lot of songs with his guitar, but also just a very funny dude with or without the guitar. But the songs are very funny. Check him out. I think he actually just recorded a live comedy special too. So I don't know when that's going to come out. But Luke Null was on there, and then my homie, my comedy brother, I would say, Anwar Newton, who is my cohort in the person I've collaborated with most in stand-up comedy, in comedy in general, in anything. We've done a lot of projects that you guys probably know about. If you're a Day One fan, we've done a bunch of stuff from in Phoenix. We did a show called Literally the Worst Show Ever, that he actually started up with another person, and then I ended up jumping on board like 4 or 5 episodes into it. We ended up doing like, I don't even know, maybe 20 episodes of that over a 4 or 5 year span, and that was fucking dope. Legendary shit we did on stage. We brought 2 live ponies on stage at one point. You don't just do shit like that. And then, but we also did, and we still do This Week Sucks Tonight. So he came, he was able to jump on stage, do some time, and then we fucked around on stage together too. So that was very fun. And yeah, me and him, we were running shit in Phoenix. He still lives there, but it's cool to go back there and just kind of be, it's funny being in a city like LA, and it's like I don't always feel disrespected, but going back to Phoenix, it's dope to be respected. I would say in LA sometimes you don't feel respected. I don't actively feel disrespected, even though some days I definitely do. Based on my merits and the work that I put in and my level of skill. But I definitely don't feel respected on the level that I should be. And then in Phoenix, you get back and you realize like, oh, I mean a lot to some of these people, which is really dope. I'd be lying if it wasn't. Like I was kicking it, and you just kind of see these dudes back in Phoenix that really give you, some of them I don't even know, and it's cool to see that my name still means so much to them. Some of them like came up and talked to me, and they seemed like almost like timid. It was just crazy to me. But I know that feeling. I know that feeling too. Like I'll never forget being like a 1 or 2 year comic and going up to a dude, Jeff Wiles, who is now like a good friend of mine. And he was a comic that was in Phoenix that had started before me, and he had kind of put himself on the map and was an individual that was kind of, you would say, doing well in the Phoenix scene. So much so that he was moving to New York City at this time. And I remember I was drunk, and I was a younger comic that had just started, and I let him know. I was just like, yo, I'm coming for the top. I was like a very ambitious young comic that was letting him know, like, I'm coming for where you're at because you're the king of the Phoenix scene at this point, blah, blah, blah. But I looked up to him in a way where I remember I had to be drunk to even say those things because I was very, like, there's a level of intimidation. You're like, yo, this is the dude that's doing the thing that I think I should be doing. And it's funny to now know the other mind switch that you have to have in a position like that eventually is realizing that he's your peer. And, I'm not coming for the throne that he sits on. We're both in these different lanes that are just trying to meet at the top. But the perspective I had when I initially talked to him in the Phoenix scene 1 or 2 years into the comic reminds me of how some of these people talk to me in Phoenix too, where you really just want to say to them like, yo, I'm not that much above you. I'm just in it longer than you. And don't get me wrong, I'm way better than you. No, but it's just like, it's all, we're all peers in this thing. And you don't have to be intimidated by me. I'm just a dude. But damn, it is kind of nice sometimes to be chilling at a bar and people coming up to you kind of like intimidated to talk to you. It's weird. But to the ego, it is cool because you're like, damn, I did do enough here where this shit matters to these people. And, they talk to you different and they treat you different, which is good. And, maybe that's what I put in enough fucking work to get a little bit of love like that. So, it's nice to tap into it like that. It's nice to go back to Phoenix and see that. And also they see that, I'm doing shit and I'm making moves for myself for sure. But again, it's a matter of perspective on that too. It's like they see that I'm doing this tour and I'm doing these things and people are fucking with me and like, I'm on Bengals.com and I'm posting all this shit and stuff like that. But at the core, it's like, yo, I'm just doing it. I'm putting myself out there. I did all this shit, right? Like that would be the advice that I would give to any of them is like, just do it. Don't wait. Be self-aware enough to know when you can do it though. Right? Like the dumbest thing you could do is probably tell yourself that you're a headlining comic and then you go do it and you realize that you fucked up so bad that people just watched you do 45 minutes of material and they realize that you suck at comedy because you don't have 45 minutes of material. Don't do that. Don't put yourself in a position to present yourself as bad at this shit. But, be self-aware enough to know when you should make those moves, but do the thing. Whatever the thing is in your mind that you should be doing, do the thing and do it yourself. And don't wait for me to tell you should do it. Don't wait for anybody to not only tell you should do it, don't wait for anybody to help you do it, to put it together because you'll be waiting for a long fucking time. The things I was just talking about in Phoenix, like the things that Anwar and I were able to accomplish, like nobody told us that we needed to do those things. You just did the things. Literally the worst show ever was the biggest show in Phoenix, the live independent comedy show it was like, we did like 6 or 7 a year. And a lot of people were like, why don't you do it more often? It was fucking a lot of work. It was like a whole production. It was a sketch comedy show mixed in with stand-up comedy, but it was a whole thing. It was really, really dope. It was as close to SNL as you could get. It was probably more, whereas SNL is more sketch comedy than anything. Ours was like probably half sketch comedy, half stand-up comedy. So we didn't have to do as many sketches as SNL, but it was just a whole thing. It was very fun. It was like a 3-4 part play that we wrote within the occurrence of a stand up comedy show. Dope show. But nobody told us to go out and do that thing. We just fucking did that thing. And it built into this large following that people really rocked with. This Week Sucks Tonight. I would say nobody told us to do that thing, but nobody told us to do that show. That actually started because Anwar had a relationship with the Crescent Ballroom, was the place that we had literally the worst show ever happening. And we had that going, and the dude that owned it just said, yo, we want to do like a late night comedy thing in this room at the Crescent Ballroom to help. They would have live music shows all the time, and then when the live music shows were done, people would just leave. And so the thought was, if you had a show in the room late night on a Thursday, like 11 p.m., that people might stick around and drink more and all that type of shit. And that was it. So we told him that, and then Anwar hit me up because we were collaborating on a lot of things at the time, and we were like, what about this? And it was a late night comedy show. And again, I'll give credit where it's due. Anwar was the one that was like, yeah, I think we should do like a late night thing. And then we got to fucking with it. And again, nobody told us that was the move. He just said like, yo, you want to do something at this hour? Bunch of other people probably would have just been like, all right, let's do an open mic. Let's do a stand-up show. Let's do a showcase comedy show or something like that. Just straight stand-up. But to be like, yo, let's make it like a late night show, that changed the whole perspective on it. And so we turned it into this thing that's now been going on for 6 or 7 years. And if you've seen one live, you know how fun these things are. You know how dope these things are. So, but again, we weren't, nobody was like, yo, do this exact thing. It was something that we curated, and we just fucking did it. And we kept believing the delusional thought of believing in ourselves, and keeping on pushing. So, that's like it is funny looking back on what Phoenix taught me, but it's a lot. It taught me a lot about self-belief. It taught me a lot about that type of shit. It taught me to have fun with it, be reckless. My voice was definitely curated more in Phoenix. I do think that having left Phoenix, I actually feel like I've gained much more confidence in a larger market in LA, because now I'm with the big dogs. In Phoenix, if you hit the top of, not specifically to even Phoenix, in any smaller market than, I would say New York, LA, Chicago are probably the ones where you want to kind of you could really sharpen your teeth and get your shit going. In those smaller markets, big fish, small pond type thing, iron sharpens iron, all those cliches. Like there's only so good that you could get in markets like that, in my opinion. Whereas, every night here, I get to book these Don't Tell comedy shows, or like I get to be on, lineups that are crazy, and I'm going after people that are not only murderers, but some of them are famous, where that adds a whole different level of expectation to the next person. Like if the person before you not only is a crusher of a stand-up comedian, but also like somebody that people fuck with in a real way based on their fame, and then the next comic is Michael Turner, nobody fucking knows me, and I gotta prove myself. That's when you really can truly prove not only to this audience that you're funny, but like in that moment you're proving to yourself that you can do that thing, and giving yourself more belief in yourself and shit like that. You can't get that in smaller markets. You could. I'm sure there's situations where you could have those situations happen, but you're going to get it more and more consistently here. That's why you go to a city like New York, because in New York I told you guys this, whatever episode that was. I was in New York City. I had to follow Mark Norman twice. And that's one of the great comics going right now. Definitely in most people's current comedy rankings, top 5, top 10, right? He's a murderer. So being able to do that and do it well is like some of the most powerful shit that that can happen for you in this. Um, as long as you don't fucking bomb. Then doing that and bombing could also be the biggest learning you can have too with the right perspective. But I was fortunate to be able to have those memories here in LA and New York and shit like that too. But like there's but I definitely don't discount the things that I was able to learn in Phoenix. I maximized my learning experience in Phoenix. That was definitely undergrad school and a little bit of grad school for sure. But you're always learning, right? It's all educational. Every step you take is more opportunity for growth. But Phoenix taught me a shit ton of stuff, and to also have fun too. I like going back to Phoenix because it's a lot of good memories. It seemed like it was like lower stakes. It feels like where I'm at now sometimes is like more every move matters, and it can be very stressful. It can weigh on you and shit like that. And I like going back to Phoenix to remind myself when it was just it seemed like it was pure and it was fun. And we were doing a weekly show every week at the Crescent Ballroom, and it was cool to do the show that I just did at Walter Studios in Phoenix because it was across the street from this bar, Gracie's, that we used to go to after every single show on a Thursday night. So we would do this show weekly in Phoenix downtown. This Week Sucks Tonight at 11 p.m. on Thursday at Crescent Ballroom, and it was rowdy as fuck. And I'm telling you, I don't know how to describe it. If you were there, it's one of those things. If you were there, it was fucking nuts. It was just a reckless ass show that shouldn't have made sense. It wasn't even a thing that should have occurred. Half the time the show would happen where there was literally another show going on, a music show in the other room, and during the middle of our like opening set, there would be a room of people that were just on drugs at a DJ set in the other room, filing out and leaving. And so part of our show was literally having to deal with that moment at some point throughout the show and just peppering whoever it was. Could have been a jam band, so we're making fun of these people, all these jam band people, for fucking 5 minutes as they file out. If it was a fucking DJ set, you're making fun of a bunch of fucking 22-year-olds with Molly and pacifiers in their mouth trying to fucking make it through the night and shit like that. A bunch of those glasses that light up and shit like that. Just that was the chaotic energy of that show. And so the show would end around like 12:30, something like that. And what we would do is we would tell everybody to go to Gracie's. Gracie's was this bar off the street. We would go get fucked up at Gracie's, and then they would kick us out at 2 or whatever when the bars close. And at 2 or whatever time we ended up getting back out to the street at Gracie's. It was on 7th Avenue in Phoenix. And we would, I don't even know if this was something I started or not. I know I had too many drinks most of those nights. We would do suicide runs across, this is a 7-lane street, 3 lanes, and then a suicide lane in the middle. We would do suicide runs. We would race people across a major street in Phoenix. That was fun. I was in dress shoes usually, and I'm pretty quick after 17 Dos Equis. And then we would also do a thing called street sets. That was the most reckless thing that we'd ever done. And we would, so again, this is a huge street. 7 lanes, if you count the middle little suicide lane in the middle. And street sets was because at the end of the night you got to think it was a lot of civilians that were fans of the show, but like it was a lot of comics that came to the show. It was a late night hang for stand-up comics in the Phoenix market. A lot of us were kicking it there late night every Thursday. And we would go and you would have to go to the second lane of 7th Avenue northbound. And you'd have to do a set. You'd have to literally go out there and do jokes for a group of people that were just sitting on the sidewalk and kind of judging you and screaming at you, usually booing you, sometimes laughing. You could get some good laughs. If you could crush a street set, though, you were cooking, baby. But you'd go to a street set, and usually in stand up, the light is when you get flashed a light in the back of a room. The light means that you have like a minute to wrap up and get off the stage. So people would flash phones at you in the back of a traditional comedy room to let you know that you got to get off the stage. But a street set light was usually almost always oncoming traffic in the northbound lane, was a car traveling at about 45 miles per hour, was going to be the light to let you know, get the fuck off the stage. Now, the nice thing is you could see it. You could always see it. It's a very flat surface in Phoenix. It was very far away. You could see the lights coming. And there's enough people usually where the people saw that there were human beings in the second lane. But, when I break it down like that and I really think about what we were doing, that was some of the dumbest shit that I've ever done. So much so that I didn't realize how dumb it was until one time my mother was visiting Phoenix, and she was getting after it with us. She was always down. We actually put her on stage one night on This Week Sucks Tonight. We put her on the stage. She had fun with it. Very funny moments. And then we go to Gracie's. We're drinking and all that stuff. And then at the end of the night, we're doing street sets. And my mom is watching, and she's observing this. And I remember she looked at me and she said, "You guys are fucking idiots, and you better stop doing this." And that was the first time I was like, damn, you know what? I never saw it through the lens of a loving mother looking at her son potentially risk his life every Thursday at 2:30 in the morning. And also, if I got hit by a car in the second lane just chilling there, definitely my fault. That's, you know what I mean? It's not like you'd get that call and be like, "Oh, did somebody kill him? What, did an idiot hit him?" This is vehicular manslaughter. No, he was doing 5 minutes of material in the second lane of the northbound 7th Avenue Street in Phoenix, Arizona. He's a moron. You actually owe us, the city, money because your son is such a fucking idiot. So, fun stuff though. Reckless shit. We were having a good time for sure. But and then also it's funny because that was usually at 2 in the morning on a Thursday night, and you better believe I had a day job. So I was up and early at 7 something in the morning, just going to work, acting like I didn't drink till 2, and do suicide races across major street in city limits. So fun stuff. Shout out to Phoenix. I appreciate you guys. That's my little rant on Phoenix. It's nice. I hope you guys rode with me on that. But it was nice to go back. It was a good time. On top of all that comedy stuff, I was able to watch the Cincinnati Bengals victory. Watched them win. The boys look good. That was exciting. The coolest thing that happened, most definitely, was the fact that Joe Burrow ran for a first down in like the third quarter, and I was like, let's fucking go. He's had a calf thing going on. He's been immobile for like 4 games this year. This was the first time he was doing spin moves. He was eluding fucking defenders. It was amazing. That was cool as shit. He had a couple of things where he did do one spin move where I was like, yo, my boy's back. So that was good. It was a nice, thorough victory. If they lost, the tone of this podcast and the remainder of the season would have been fucking miserable. At 1-4, they would have had very little chance to be able to come back and do anything. At 2-3, we're cooking with gas, baby. As long as they can go in and get a W against Seattle, that would be the nice, like, I don't want to say we're back, but what happened in Arizona was a good thing. They looked very good. Arizona is a bad football team, so I understand that. But you need to have games like that. Just a W, a thorough W, putting up 34 points, having Jamar Chase almost have 200 yards of receiving, having Joe Burrow have 3 touchdown passes, all of them to Jamar Chase. Just having all those things happen gives you the psyche to get back to where you need to be. Seattle's another good team. Let's get going. The defense played good in Arizona, even though they're a dog shit offense. Like, it doesn't. A lot of people are like, oh, you beat Arizona, it doesn't matter. Whatever, whoever you beat, is good. That's a good thing. You went on the road in the NFL and you got a W, and it was thorough. That's what you need to build on. That's what this team has proved over the last couple of years. They just need to get back to, like, get the psyche going. When they started 0-2 the last couple of years, it's like it you just got to get the mojo going back again. So that was nice to do that. It was dope to see that in Phoenix. Also, the tailgate video in State Farm Stadium, that was cool because, like, that's where it all started. That's literally where that whole thing started too. Like, you're seeing these tailgate videos that I'm doing now that have been fun. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check the last one. It dropped on Tuesday from the Arizona tailgate. And super fun stuff. We were doing that for NBC back in the day. And I will say, that was one thing that another person told me that we should be doing that I would have never probably thought of to do on my own. I will give that. These things do happen. But eventually that dried up, that well dried. And those people were not trying to fuck with me anymore. And I think I pissed somebody off of the Diamondbacks, and then NBC was like kind of out on me. Which is whatever. I shouldn't be on local television anyway. You kidding me? Fuck, shit, piss. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say into a camera. I'm not trying to be NBC Channel 12 news clean, but they were the ones that put me on local TV first. I moved the needle in Mesa, Arizona, if you can believe it. But they were the first people to put me in a situation to do that, the tailgate video stuff and like the pregame stuff. And it would end up being on like 10:30 news and shit like that in Phoenix. It was cool. I remember we were like hammered drunk a couple times at this bar we used to go to. What the hell is it called? The Moon. We call it the Moon. Half Moon Bar and Grill in Phoenix. Good bar. Decent boneless wings. We used to get shit-faced over there late night. And it would come on like at like 10:30. And it was also like a lot of times it was no audio on the thing. But you're just looking at yourself in HD at the fucking bar. Like, imagine sitting at a sports bar with like 12 screens and you're on 4 of them. And you're sitting there drinking. People are like, yo, is that you? You better fucking believe it. The first time I was ever on TV, we went to Old Town, what's it called? Coach House, which is in Old Town, Scottsdale. Oldest bar in Arizona or something like that. It's one of those, like, places that you go for sure. If you're ever in Old Town, Scottsdale, you should go to Coach House. It's a great little bar. It's like a dive bar. It's not like all clubby and shit like that. It's a good bar. Hard vouch for Coach House. But we went there, and we usually knew the bartenders and shit, almost always. But, we knew the bartenders, but the security this night was somebody that I didn't know, that I wasn't familiar with. And I was going to be on TV for the first time ever. And it's a big deal. Like, being on a television set and doing the thing that I'm doing, like, doing comedy. And so we finally got the word that we were going to be on there. So we knew it was on at like 10:30, 11 or whatever. And we go to Coach House and we keep telling them to turn the TV on this thing. And I definitely was like a little drunk for sure. But I was also like really excited about being on TV. And the security dude was like, I don't know what I did. He was trying to tell me maybe to like stop screaming or something. I don't know if I was being out of order in that way or whatever was happening, but I kind of lipped off to him and I was like, yo, I'm about to be on TV, like kind of flexing on him. And he was the type of this security guard that was like, well, I don't give a shit if you are on TV. I'll kick you the fuck out of here. And like literally me flexing that I was going to be on TV for the first time ever, like I was already on my celebrity shit. Almost got me kicked out of a bar before I was even able to watch myself on TV. The first time I was ever on TV, my brother had to like go talk to the bartenders that we knew really well to let them know that I'm not a fucking asshole. Meanwhile, I was definitely probably being an asshole in that moment. But fuck that guy. There's like 20 people at this bar right now. I'm actually going to be on TV, you cocksucker. I don't think he was probably there for another year or so as a security guard. And we were fine. We got past that. I had to kind of ego check myself and be like, you know what? I shouldn't have said it though. It's not what I said as much as how I said it. Um, but that was funny memories. But that was where I started the tailgate stuff, and NBC, local NBC, there gave me that chance. But the well dried up there, and what did I do? We kept doing it because I saw. I definitely think that I'm great at it. I feel like I have fun with it. I have a good time doing it. People respond to it well. And so they stopped having me on the local news shit after a couple seasons, which is fine. It wasn't any animosity. Also, they never paid me a dime anyway, so it wasn't like I was doing it for the exposure to get to get my chops up, but also to like be able to say to people in the future like, yo, I've done this for local TV, which is something that I can say to anybody because it happened. But I saw that opportunity, and luckily the dude that I was working with, Chris Peterson, who's the guy that films a lot of my shit, he was willing to continue to push with it too because he sees how great it can be. And so, again, I could have just sat back and been like, oh, well, I'm not doing that anymore because they don't fuck with me. It's like, nah, fuck that. You ever heard of YouTube, dog? Let's fucking go. So it's good. It's funny also being back in Phoenix because I started there and shit like that, so I'm able to hate on it differently. And I've been posting these videos. Like I posted a kind of a front-facing video of me talking about being in Arizona before the game, and it didn't go viral or anything, but I've done videos like that in a lot of these different markets, and most people are like having fun with it and shit like that. Arizona is the capital of unchecked white aggression. Like, people were like responding like, they're just so mean. One dude called me, okay, Porky, go home. It's like, first of all, I know I got a little neck fat, dude. Okay? It's kind of here to stay at this point. About to be 37. Fuck you, dude. You don't say that on my Instagram, bro. My girl watches that shit. You know what I mean? But, like, they take things so personally. These dudes in Arizona. I've never seen bland white men defend the blandness of their whiteness so much. It is funny when you poke fun at people that live in Arizona. Like, they get so defensive where you're like, what are you defending? Chain restaurants? Is that what you're defending? And also, I lived there long enough to know there's some fucking fantastic food in Phoenix. It's actually probably one of the best food cities. I would say it's a sneaky food city. I was going to say it's like one of the best food cities in America. I should probably travel more before I say that. I'm sure there's a lot of cities that are probably better. But it is like unexpectedly a great food city for like the individual, or not individual, but like the independent, locally owned spots. I fucking love it. Some of the best wings I've ever had are at JT's Bar and Grill on 44th and Indian School. I believe it is. So, like, hard vouch for that. But also, like, overall, this is a city of just strip malls and yard houses and fucking Chili's and Red Robins. It's a fucking, and just own it. I'll tell you what I love. I'm from the Midwest, dude. Chain restaurants. You don't think I love the consistency of Chili's? Every time I go in whatever city I'm at, I know they got those Southwest egg rolls. It's just hitting. You know what I mean? Like, I love that. Rep that. Don't come at me all angry because I'm calling you out for the blandness of your city, though. You know what I mean? And it's always the Arizona whites that get all mad when you talk shit about Arizona. It's never like, because there's a lot of black and brown people, more brown people in Phoenix that, they're not going to take offense. It's always these NRA gun-toting Arizona whites that are like, why don't you fucking say that in my front yard? It's like, why don't you chill out, dude? Why don't you calm down at your little fucking Toby Keith bar? Crazy motherfuckers. But it is a good, I love in the comedy perspective, again, I loved having started stand-up there, though, because you got to make these motherfuckers laugh. That helped me a lot to understand these people are not like me in a lot of ways. Don't get me wrong. I am a straight white male. I get that, but I think I'm a little bit more open-minded to a lot of these people. A lot of these people, might have they've got one black friend that they'll let you know about every time. You know what I mean? That's the type of people that we're talking about there. And they like don't even like him that much, but they understand the optics of not having him in their life because they want to prove bad points at parties, you know? So, you know, shit like that. But Arizona, baby. What are you going to do? And then I'm going to fucking Hawaii. Let's fucking go. What else happened this week? Oh, my brother he's aging. He had a birthday. That was nice too. So then after the Bengals win, which is great, I got to go with my brother John, and we also got like really dope seats that were cool. We're giving knew somebody through these people that I know, the Bengals media team. So I got given tickets in the 4th row of the end zone. I don't know if you're big end zone people at football games, but kind of a vibe. Different vibe for sure. And also, I'll say, like, I've been hating on these Arizona whites a lot. The dudes that were in front of the section that I was in and shit like that, salt of the earth. Good people. Good fans. I also think that John and I are good fans. Bengals fans in general are good fans because we're never going to, you know, get too hyped. We understand the franchise that we represent. We understand that shit can go south pretty quick with a franchise. So, like, we weren't flexing too hard. They were good dudes. We were in a good section. But the end zone is a rowdy spot. Very good. It was a very good football experience. Cardinals fans do come out. They do represent as, you know, as mediocre as their team might be. That place was packed. It was rocking for moments. And the end zone seats that we got were very fucking fun. I'd never sat there. I think it's called the Bird's Nest is where we sat. And it's literally, it's not even like, you know, how the stadium seats are like bolted in and shit like that. It's actually a thing that rolls out, and they're just chairs out there. Loose chairs. No, they're sectioned in and stuff like that. They got numbers on them, but it was a rowdy part of the stadium to sit in, and I would hard vouch for those again. If you're ever going to a State Farm Stadium, look at those. So we were in section 143, row 4. Good time. And then after that, it's my brother's birthday this week, and so we did the birthday dinner that night, and so that was cool. A lot of people from Cincinnati were in town. Some of his closest friends from growing up that he's known since he was like 2nd, 3rd grade. Just kept the wine going, and it was a nice little night, nice little weekend, a full weekend. The only other thing that happened this weekend was Drake dropped the same album that we've heard for nearly 8 years. He was like, "What if I did this again?" A lot of you guys listening know that I'm a huge music guy. I actually love Drake. I think if you don't like Drake, you don't like yourself. You know, there's like, because Drake gives you enough things that are great that you're like, this is pretty awesome. But album-wise, I'm also like, I'm a huge music guy, and I'm a huge album guy. I love whole albums. It's one of my favorite things. Just a cohesive album that goes from start to finish is great, from one artist, one vision, and shit like that. And it's funny, I don't know when he decided to do it, but he just kind of puts out these albums that are like just kind of a mess. They have no cohesion. Track to track really doesn't flow that well. There's 6 songs usually that are like, yo, I might listen to these 6 songs for the rest of my life. One of these songs might be one of my favorite songs I've ever heard from this artist. He does do that with every album. You're like, this is fucking dope. Like the song he dropped, I don't know what time it is in Charlotte or something like that. I don't know what he did. He does timestamp songs. He did one of those, and it's good. I like it. It's a good beat. It's a good flow. It's fun. You know, I like that whole thing. But like, and there's like 4 or 5 songs that kind of stood out where I was like, oh, this is cool. But then it's just, I don't know who he does it for. It seems like he just makes these albums for himself, which like there's a there's a perspective there that he might not be wrong. Like, do the art that you fuck with hardest, that you love. It seems like he's doing that. I just don't, and I don't think he cares how his albums are perceived in his legacy. Maybe that's what it is. Like, because the walk away from a lot of these albums are just whatever. And maybe this is some old man shit that I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm older. We grew up in a different way, but like, it's sad for me to think that like that shit doesn't matter anymore for a person to put out dope albums every time. Like, look at Outkast is a group that will be talked about. I hope for the remainder of my life I'll be defending Outkast and how dope Outkast is. Outkast put out, I want to say 6 albums, definitely 5 albums. You could argue each and every one of them is a classic album. I don't think that they're all classic albums, but like, I fucking love Southern Playalistic. I love AT-Aliens, Aquemini, Speakerbox, and The Love Below, and then I'm missing one, Stankonia. Like, those 5 albums, if you told me that all 5 of those are classic albums to you, I don't think you're that wrong. I don't think you're that far off. I don't know if Southern Playalistic had the whole cohesion that a lot of them had. Aquemini is definitely a classic album. AT-Aliens to me is a classic album, and then probably one of the other ones. Stankonia, I think, has elements of it that are close to it, but either way, each album is so unique, such an experience. Each album is like a thing. Like, there's the first 2 albums might be a little bit more similar than any of the other things, but after that, they did these 5 albums in totality that are all their own world, pretty much, and they're fucking amazing. And a dude like Drake, I knows that. That's what's crazy to me, is like, he knows that shit. And I guess maybe he just doesn't give a fuck. Like Jay-Z dropped, 11, 12 albums, something like that. I wouldn't say that all of them are different experiences. There are a lot of overlap in a lot of what he did, but there are some classic albums because of his perspective towards, like, the Black Album is a fucking amazing album, and it was obviously supposed to be his last album, but to have a cohesive perspective on each track, or what you're trying to accomplish with the messaging that you're trying to have in each track, the way that album did is fucking amazing. And Drake never had anything like that, really. It seems like, unless you're looking at his very first project. My favorite album of his is Nothing Was the Same. I think that's my favorite album of his. That was probably, honestly, like, it feels like one of the last times he made like a proper album too. And it's funny to say, because Drake is the example of a person that doesn't give a fuck about albums. But then you look at, like, his contemporaries, or J. Cole and Kendrick. J. Cole puts out not whole concept albums, but 1 or 2 of these albums were entire concept albums. Kendrick's albums are like changing what the perspective can be towards concept albums. Like, they're almost too concepty. It's kind of crazy. You're almost like, Kenny, chill, Kenny. But those 2 artists, like, Drake. The funny thing is, Drake is so far above, like, he's so number one that you can't really hate on it. That's why it's fucked up. Like, you can't really it's a hard dude to talk that much shit about, because he's just steady winning, right? But, like, I don't know. He's not my top 5. Kendrick Lamar is in my top 5 of the greatest hip hop artists of all time, greatest rappers of all time. However you categorize that list, I do think those 2 things are actually different. But Kendrick Lamar is there, and it's funny because I don't even really love the last project he did, because I can't really revisit it, because it had some fucking tracks on there where you're like, this is a lot. It's so dense. But I know how dope the album is, right? The whole thing is fucking phenomenal. It's amazing. And all the accolades that he got because of that is super deserved. Drake's just over here throwing shit at the wall, but his shit that he throws at the wall sometimes is like some of the best shit you'll ever fucking hear in your life. And and the funny thing is he doesn't give a fuck, and it will continue to be the number one album. It's an interesting time to take all of his music in though and try to like. He's so far ahead as number one that is it that impressive though, because beyond like Kendrick and J. Cole, they're in a whole different. I don't even think the fans that love those two are even like overlapping as much, because Drake is really rapping for like 20 to 25-year-olds now, it seems like, whereas like he's number one, but what is his competition like? Future, Future's. If we're talking about Drake have made the same album for the last 10 years, Future's literally made the same album for, I think, his whole career. He's never evolved as an artist, in my opinion. I'm probably also not as privy to Future shit to be able to, talk that specifically about it. But I don't think if you go listen to a 2013 Future album and a 2023 Future album, he's talking about pretty much toxic masculinity throughout the whole way. I don't think there's a lot of maturity added in that. And that I think is the biggest critique on Drake too. It's like look at Kendrick Lamar's first album and his last album, and the maturity that you see, and the growth, and the human growth and shit like that. J. Cole, I'm a huge critique of I've critiqued J. Cole quite a bit. I don't think he's as people say like, yo, he's saying shit nobody's ever said before. It's like, bro, go listen to Tupac. He said the same things in 1996. But like J. Cole has evolved as an artist throughout his whole career. And that I was referencing Jay-Z. Like, he continued to evolve. The 444 album was like his last album. You could argue it's a classic album. I think it's fringe. But it's like, it's a concept album. It's a full album, though. And he didn't continue to make the same shit. Now he's 50. I think he was almost 50 or 50 years old when he made it. But Drake's about to be 40. I think he's like my age. Like, I'm not telling you to make a concept album. I'm just telling you to conceptualize an album in a way that is, I don't know, maybe I could fuck with. But I don't know. Maybe that's my old man rant. Dude is, I'm not his target demo anymore. That pains me. Because I can't list some of this shit. I'm like, this doesn't connect with me anymore at all. But that beat is fire. And sometimes there are great ones. And I'm sure I'm going to go listen back on it, and there's like going to be 5 songs where I'm like, yo, this is some amazing shit. But the album's 25 songs. That means that you gave me 20 songs that are just fucking whatever. So I don't know. Miss the old days. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. 4 shows into the Road Warrior Tour. It's been amazing. Again, I added some dates. I'm in Raleigh on the 25th, San Jose on the 28th. Any Bengals fans coming to the Bay Area, it'll hopefully will be 3-3 coming out of a bye week for a big game against the Niners, as long as we can lock in against Seattle. Either way, it's going to be a fun-ass weekend. If you're in the Bay Area, come through October 28th. After that, we're hitting Baltimore. We're going to do those shows in Honolulu. I'll come back. I'll go to Jacksonville, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, round it out. So if you're listening right now and you're in any of these cities, go get tickets now. Let's get these things moving. Let's pop off. If you see any of these videos that are going online, going crazy, we get a couple of virals, the last couple ones. Ryan Stonehouse is making shirts that are literally because of the viral moment that we had with the dude calling me a dipshit with the punter jersey. And he hit me up. He signed one of the shirts, and he's sending it to me. Shout out to Ryan Stonehouse. Again, speaking of shirts, all my merch is available on turnercomedy.com. Go get that. I appreciate you guys have been rocking with it. A lot of people have bought it already. The Yahmsayin shirt, sweatshirt, combo is fucking comfortable as shit. The feedback is real. All the people that have rocked it have been hitting me up like, yo, this shit is nice, cozy. It's about to be cold wherever you're at. Go get that shit. Come to a show soon. I appreciate you guys always. I'll talk to you soon. And as always, Hoo Day, baby. Let's go.